that you have learned that these people can fill you once they give you the uppity, and they can empty you once they give you the downity, and that this is something you have gotten almost addicted to, understanding that they are the ones in charge of making you happy or not to. And that's a problem. Hi, my name is Christinajunge. I'm a love and leadership mentor. If you like to subscribe to my channel, who is interested in my coaching programs can write to christina@christinajunge.com. Leave me your comments, give me a like, and we'll get right into it. What is it that makes us feel almost addicted to the uppities, downities, to the confusion of the emotional states a narcissistic person puts us under? And why aren't you able to get out of those relationships? All the different, you stay in there almost waiting until the day of redemption comes, that this person will give you the I am sorry, you are fine finally, I love you, you are the content of my life. And it's not gonna be like this, the happiness of my life. And it's never gonna be like this. But it's as if we were waiting and waiting and waiting for it to occur. That what they have taken from us, that what they have made us understand, that they are the guardians of our emotions by giving us well-being or taking it away from us, by giving us the uppities and downities, by putting us down or elevating us at some other point, that they are the powerful ones above us and, on top of us, who can do or undo feeling or not feeling. And this is scary. Check this out. What results from a narcissistic relationship is an incredible emptiness, is an incredible loneliness, is an incredible, missing self-love in your life, in all your relationships, in the way you deal with yourself. Not all your relationships. You can have working relationships as friendships. You might have working relationships in your communities, in your sports groups, in your hobbies. You might have them in your work environment, but you might also have those people who they sniff you, and they get you under the same power dynamics, manipulating you, getting you under them, feeling that you were under them, that you were lower than they are, and making you all the time feel guilty. This is a dynamic you are used to, and these people smell you, And what is the problem with the entire deal? You could say, I get out of those dynamics, so I'm going to be fine. You're not going to be fine is the problem, Mostly you're not fine. If you're lucky, you're fine. But you might have different relationships in other environments where these kind of narcissistic people come up because you don't have good boundaries, because you're not full with self-love, because you have this loneliness inside of you, because you have this emptiness inside of you, and you have this void which you are seeking to be filled always from the outside, from somebody outside. Because this is something you have learned, that if you feel good or not that good of emotions, it is because somebody makes you feel or not feel like this. So you're living this life in a cage, you could say, in this eternal waiting room that somebody would come in the end and give you the thumb up and give you the redemption, I say. Oh, it's almost like this, that they would say, okay, everything is fine now. I see you're good, and I did wrong to you, I was living in denial, and now it's on you to, to just give me the big old hug and life's going to be good. And it's not going to happen. but we are living in this waiting room where we are waiting for people to tell us how we are, if we are okay, if we can make it, if we are being approved of. And this is just a wrong, let's say, a ground learning that we have absorbed in our narcissistic families of origin, probably. Many people comment in the sections that they had to get to their mid-50s to understand in which kind of relationships they were growing up, that they had a narcissistic mother, that they had a narcissistic father. And I think the mother wound is a much deeper wound, since the mother is the person who is transmitting emotions, who is transmitting this love, who is the one in charge of the hugging and the being there and the receiving. You might like this or you might not like this kind of model. You can say, no, fathers are for that too. Fathers are for that too. This is true. But fathers are like this living model of sacrifice, of integrity, of leadership, of being there, of being just, of justice, of protection, of security. And this is how they transmit love. Yeah, it's like a whole different dynamic. While the mother, once she is in her male dynamics, like in her controlling dynamics, in her dynamics which then make you feel very insecure, because this is not a place when she controls and when she is not in contact with her emotions, where she can give positive approval, love, appreciation, and support to her children. So if you have learned that this is the normal in your life, that a person can give or take away love from you, this is a whole lot of power which you give to these people. This is what you've learned. This is the understanding you have gained from how you grew up. But you have never understood that you are you're worthy, that you are worthy of being loved, that you are beautiful, that you are wonderful, that you are completely capable of reaching whatever you propose to yourself, and that you can overcome anything you want if you want to level up. Nobody gave you this self-esteem. Nobody gave you this confidence in yourself, So you have to create this in the end. And it was not given to you. But this has become almost like an addictive moment where you keep on going to this source of, in the end, usually it is not approval, but sometimes it is approval. And since it is sometimes yes and sometimes not, it becomes more addictive to you, and you're searching for this approval, which is not approval most of the time, more, because you're always on the insecure side, when it's going to come up and when will this person approve of you. And since it doesn't make logic, and in between, intermittently, this person will tell you that you're not worth, that you are not lovable, and that you are the one guilty of how they don't feel good, They give you the entire guilt movie, the entire guilt film, that you were the one responsible for their emotions. So this is like a double charge, that you're waiting and waiting and waiting to get something out of them, while you're intermittently being accused of being responsible for how they feel, while you didn't do anything. And you like your cup was never filled, your soul was never filled, your emotions were never filled, your self-esteem was never filled, your self-worth was never filled. And so your values, your standards, your sane boundaries, your how you understand what you are worth, this was never constructed inside of you. So you think this has to be something which comes from outside, you know. And since you've become so addicted to the approval of these people, but it was intermitted with so much ups and downs, you became so confused and so disconnected from yourself, so disconnected from your heart and from your soul and from your intuition and from your emotions, obviously. Because you were waiting for the approval, and at the same point you had to be constantly on guard, you know, that or if at the next moment some, you know, I don't know, some guilt was thrown over you, you know, that you were suddenly the one in charge of their emotional well-being while you were waiting for them to get in charge of your well-being. Can you see how confusing this is, how mingled up this is, and how mean this is? What it makes to a person, you know, what it does to a person. And if you understand that you have learned to wait for the approval, for the love, for the thumb up of those people who will never be congruent in their approval of you, who will never be congruent because they choose to, okay? Because this is how they leave you in the dynamics of being a victim, of being like manipulating you all the time, the way they like to have you, you know, where they like to have you. And this is what they want, you know. They don't want you strong. They don't want you understanding the dynamics. Once you get energetically a little bit out of those dynamics, they notice, they pull you back, you know, they make you wrong, they make you understand that you're the guilty one in the game, and to, you know, not think about empowering yourself and understanding or clarifying how the dynamics are, or telling your truth, or telling how you feel. If you tell how you feel, you know what happens in narcissistic relationships, you know. You're too emotional, you know, you're showing your feelings, oh, don't be so. This is scary for narcissistic people, because what they are essentially not is in contact with their own emotions. So emotions is the most scary thing for them, you know, and losing the power, obviously. But what it does to you is to understand that you can only, let's say, survive on their approval, on them giving you, because you have never learned to generate this inside of you. If you have learned to generate this inside of you, you would have understood that those dynamics are screwed up, you know, that this is not right. This is not logic what they are living. And that even if they have broken your emotional world, and if they have broken your logical thinking, something inside of you, like your intuition and your consciousness, would know better. But you have silenced this, you know, you have pushed this under, and something you overwrote all those templates which were there to make you understand what is right and what is wrong, and you started to more believe other persons, what you are, who you are, how you are, you know, and lost on this way your identity, basically, or you didn't construct it. So your identity is now something which is always searching for somebody who would approve of you. And this is where the entire perfectionism dynamics play into the game, you know, that somebody would have to approve of you over and over again, because you can't do it for yourself. You have cut yourself, not completely, because you can go back to it, but for most of your time you have cut yourself off of your self-approval, of understanding that you are worth, that you don't feel lovable, you know, that you're not self-confident, because you can't read that what you say and what you that you don't, let's say, put it like this, you read that you don't have agency over your emotions, other people's emotions, and over your logic, you know. So you stay confused because there's no right information coming up from the inside up, who being, let's say, giving a feedback loop between what you feel, what you know, what you understand, how you interpret things, how you analyze things, and there would be coming out a sort of truth who somebody would confirm to you. All the different. All your truth, all your thinking, all your understanding was always like twisted in favor of people who had the sole, let's say, meaning in life to not, let's say, have access to their emotions and to subdue you constantly under their crazy dynamics to be able to have you as a victim. And this victim has to be feeling themselves emotionally always a little bit under how they feel themselves being a victim. That's not really pretty, but you can get out of it. If you understand where your way is, to yourself, to understand that you are worth of being loved. I know this is not an easy way. I know you sometimes have to be accompanied by a professional. Sometimes we don't understand, we don't see ourselves. We as, I'm as a psychologist or as a coach, as a mentor, we are always in processes of feedback loops, of being coached, through our processes of a deeper understanding of our truths, So this is something somebody has to reflect to me. I get it, I understand it, but there is like a groundwork you can do to understand that there is a dynamic where you are basically addicted to the approval, which you will never get, of these people, or just that much to then get under their dynamics as a victim again, And this makes like a total confusion in your head, and it makes you understand that you can't rely on yourself. So what you're doing again, if you can't rely on yourself because logic and what you feel, this is all like mingled up, so you go and look outside for approval, for truth, for somebody telling you. And if people tell you like a real truth, tell you how, like really how the dynamics are, you might at some point not understand them even, depending on where you are in your healing journey, that it is so that you're so resistant to the truth because you would have to get in contact with all your pain, with all your confusion, and in the first moment it might induce you to a process of confusion, that you're going to be like, oh my God, what are they saying? This hurts, they're confronting me with a truth which is too hard for me to understand at this point. But if you have gone already a little bit of a path of inner healing, of understanding who you are and what your feelings are transporting to you, you will make click suddenly with the truth, though it's a really complicated way of understanding how the dynamics are intermingled, how you were held responsible for their feelings while they were accusing you of being the one, since you haven't done although you haven't done anything for how they feel, and this is crazy. And then getting you all the time under them, how they feel victim, that's how they make you feel victim, like always a little bit lower than themselves, like how you feel when they victimize you. This is a good barometer to see if how they feel themselves, and this saying, hurt people hurt people. We can hurt people, but then we can apologize and we can be sensitive to it. But if you're not, hurt people hurt people. So I call it addiction, to approval from outside, to being told that you are okay, to being told where you are, what you are, how you are, is basically because you're living this emptiness, because it was like never filled inside of you or taken away from you. If you want to think that we are born full and filled and with joy and happiness, I mean, there's something we have to talk about, like being in the womb of your mom and things where we already feel and perceive and understand things, although they are not over a spoken path, So we can discuss that. But the truth is that you were not filled with love. So you're running around with this emptiness, with the loneliness, with a mass of of feelings, and with no self-love in the end. And if you are in this empty state, you are looking for somebody who's gonna fill this. And what are you doing then with your emptiness? You are very emotionally very needy for somebody to fill you. So you are looking for somebody who has lived these same dynamics to choose this person as a partner, and possibly having a person then in there who's going to be an abuser too, a narcissist too. Because the dynamics are very much the same. Somebody else who would be healthy would feel that you're needy and would make you see it, or would be so close that it would be scary for you. So you would be like far away from these people because they have such an emotional openness when they're healthy people, that you would get confronted with your emptiness, with your void, with your missing self-love and self-confidence, with your loneliness. And this is too hard. This is too much of a shock in the next moment. So you, right away, you withdraw, and you make yourself happy with, again, an addictive relationship where you can save the other person, where you can be the controller of the other person, not to be having to be in control of your own emotions, which is a scary place because you've never been introduced to them. And somehow it is an empty place, but this is not the only truth either. Because if I see people who have been in the most, horrific relationships or narcissistic upbringing, they have often a great creativity. They have often ways of expressing and of perceiving things which are much altered, which have much gift in them, being able to perceive on a much higher level, and this is like balancing out their emptiness. But it would be good to maintain those gifts and to get in contact with yourself and to heal and to be there for yourself and to set good boundaries and to understand the dynamics and to become congruent and creative. Okay? I hope this helped a little bit understanding the dynamics I call addictive dynamics, which have to do with your emptiness, with your loneliness, with your void, with your missing love, and how you go back to the source you have perceived to be the one giving or taking love. The one who would be there to fill you up or to empty you out. And you have believed these people to be so powerful in your life, to be in charge of that. And they're not. Let me tell you, they're not. You are in charge of it now. Okay? If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, give me a like and give me your comments. I'm very curious. And if you want to check out this other video talking about narcissistic dynamics and how this influences on you. Thank you for listening. Bye all.